राजू को बोल दिया चले में।
Let's start, Neela.
Yes, a very, very good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. This is a very, very hot topic, a relevant topic for our community, Gurgaon moms. So today's topic is about turning your home cooking into a business enterprise. And if you're one of those, do leave your name in the comment section. We will definitely get in touch with you after the session as well. And if you have questions, please post it in the comment section. We will take your questions after the panel. And why this topic, why we chose this topic? Because according to the third edition of Godrej Food Trends Report, which I attended earlier this year, they mentioned how home cooked meals and home chefs top the chart in food space. The report also says how the growing demand for fresh, healthy, hygienic, and familiar home-cooked meals combined with the convenience of today's digital communication and payment platforms. 2020 will see many more traditional, regional, and community cooks start mini enterprises from their home kitchens. So Gurgaon Moms, I can say we are probably a community that has been a nurturing ground for many such food entrepreneurs. And we are now seeing many of you ask questions, one question or the other, or probably all of the questions. For example, how to turn this passion into a flourishing, profitable business, or how to scale the business and take it to the next level. So to answer these questions and many more, we have the team from Indian School of Hospitality with us. Proud to have as part of the panel, Mr. Dilip Puri, a trailblazing industry leader who is committed to bringing the highest levels of hospitality education to students in India through Indian School of Hospitality. So to further introduce the panel and take the discussion forward, I now call upon Kunal Vasudeva, the COO of ISH.
Firstly, good evening to our favorite Gurgaon moms community. Lovely to be talking to you. Neela, Upasana, thank you so much for working with us to make this happen today. We're very excited to be talking to all you incredible, talented and passionate home chefs. And as rightly said, guiding you to turn your business, your passion into a business. My name is Kunal Vasudeva, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the Indian School of Hospitality, also the moderator for the evening today. Just a little housekeeping before we started, and Neela has already mentioned that. If you have any questions during the conversation, please go ahead. Please type them in the question box. I'll bring them up with the panelists, and we also have time for questions at the end, and Upasana will moderate that for us. It's going to be an absolutely interesting for all of us, this session. I'm certain you'll be fascinated by the stellar cast, star cast from the hospitality world. We have with us a hospitality thought leader turned educator. We have a global celebrity chef come restaurateur, entrepreneur, and we have a chef mentor come academician. Her energy, her astuteness, her sheer presence today will overwhelm you. It's my privilege to introduce you to the true diva of Italian cuisine and my dear friend, Ritu Dalmia. Ritu, so
Thank
lovely.
you. Thank you.
Lovely
You've just,
to see you again.
I became 6 centimeters taller. Introduction. Can we have a chat every day, please? I could do
yes,
with
yes. But they must know, you're an absolutely trailblazing icon for feminism. You're loved by your fans, you're loved by your well-wishers. And ladies and gentlemen, she spent the last 60 days in isolation in Goa.
So what a blast it was.
In a house on a beach, which had low tides, and whatever warm-kissed glow, sun-kissed glow you see on her face is thank you to the Goa.
Yes, this
halo,
again, this platinum halo around me. Pleasure to be around, Kunal.
I must add how much the community loves her, and she's an inspiration at so many levels. So,
well, you see, Gurgaon moms and I go a long way back. I still remember the first event we did together was in a Fisher Paykel kitchen more than 8 years ago. Gurgaon mom had just started and we did a cooking session together in Mehroli. and I still remember that. So it's a very long association for me as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely. Now, just a second. It is impossible to think about hospitality in India and not think about Dilip Puri. He is Mr. Hospitality for his friends and family, but for the industry, he is considered to be a leading thought leader. He served as the managing director of Starwoods in South Asia, and since 2017, he set out to be an education entrepreneur with his venture, Indian School of Hospitality. Welcome, Dilip. Welcome again. Nice to see you.
I didn't put on any inches, Ritu, but I put on some inches on my girth.
We can go barter there.
Yeah.
I could give away a few inches there.
Yeah. Rajiv Gulshanand, he's the Dean Culinary at the Indian School of Hospitality. Well, he has opened some of the best hotels in the world, executive chef, including Uday Vilas, Wildflower Shimla. He was also the executive chef for Veda Hong Kong. He is, of course, the Dean at Indian School of Hospitality. And he's a little academic blue blood, ladies and gentlemen. In 2015, he was conferred lifelong fellowship by the Department of Education for Specialized Skills in Melbourne, Australia, by the government of Australia. So welcome, Rajiv.
Thank you.
We also have a very special mom entrepreneur, Sheetal Agarwal. She's part of the Gurgaon community. She's a cake artist and a home baker and runs a home bakery called Zorba, the cake studio. And she's also super excited to be part of the panel discussion today. She will be asking the panelists a few questions. Before I begin, and this is to the viewers, I want to relate today's session with an exciting book called Cooking Up a Business. Lessons from food lovers who turn passion into their business. It was written by Rachel Hofstetter, and in which he researched, Ritu, about 1,000 home chefs, over 100, sorry, home chefs turned entrepreneurs who started various culinary related business, including cloud kitchens. And eventually she was asked to basically deduce what was the outcome. And there was one glaring common outcome in everyone's journey. And that was all the entrepreneurs tested the entrepreneurial waters by engaging in business activities on the side while maintaining their day jobs. So they were all part-time entrepreneurs, essentially. Eventually, the book concluded that being an entrepreneur is not necessarily an all in or nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So our discussion today will focus on that very basics. A lot of people, Dilip, Ritu, Rajiv, Sheetal, are asking us this question, which somebody guides us from the very beginning. Where do I even begin? You know, let's go back to the basics. Where do I even start? And this is the moot point everyone's kind of asking. So Ritu, my question to you first, and I'm going to relate it with COVID, right? Because this is something which is playing on everyone's mind. How has COVID now, the present time, changed life for restaurants? And what sort of shift do you predict?
Okay, so not to be a wet blanket to all the amazing, inspiring entrepreneurs there who are all thinking of turning their home kitchens into a more professional and more entrepreneurial business. This really is the worst time for F&B business per se. It's really the tsunami of it's a death of F&B business at the moment. Simply mainly because people are so scared of eating out. And as the Gurgaon moms have already realized, anything that you open on Instagram or Facebook or any YouTube channel, it's only about home cooking. So what's happened is India traditionally has been a country where we cook 5 to 6 times in a week and only eat out for special occasions. In the last few years, this changed. And people started going out more, mainly because young couples, urban couples, smaller homes, not enough time to cook, more spending power. So this eating out once a week became 2 to 3 times a week. Unfortunately or fortunately, I think home cooking is going to go back to where it used to be, and eating out in restaurants will become more of a novelty. But saying that, there is an opportunity also for, let's say, deliveries, or there's an opportunity for niche cooking. it's, I think, what's really going to make a difference, or people who are going to be able to survive or turn out a new business model, is if they come up with something which is a niche product. So coming to, let's say, when you talk about home cooks or people who are doing home deliveries of food, even in Gurgaon, Delhi, everywhere, there are many who are doing, let's say, just pastries, or someone's doing parsi. But what you need to do now is come up, which is a unique strength that only you possess, and you don't have any other competition. Because the reality is, as I said, everyone's turned into a home cook. Everyone thinks because they cook so well at home, they can also do it well. Well, I'm sorry to again not be very positive, but I started out that way. I used to love cooking. I've never been to a cooking school, as everyone knows. I'm not a professional chef, and it all turned out because I loved it. But during my journey, I also realized that just because you cook well doesn't mean that you can also run a good business. So this has been a very, very hard lesson for me, and a lesson which I'm still learning. And anyone who is inspiring to open up or turn their passion into a profitable business, they really need to be very careful, think about it very carefully, and maybe just wait it out a little bit till this period of fear, of stigma is over.
Thank you, Ritu. We've heard about a lot about muted first quarter, April to June, muted second quarter. The economy is going to be a V recovery, W recovery. Dilip, you have seen so many ups and downs from Africa to Australia in the last 30 odd years in your business. I always say, from the global financial crisis to the COVID financial crisis. My question to you is this different from all other crises?
I think it's not just different. It's a whole new world we will be entering into post the COVID scenario. And just to give perspective and meaning to stages at which what I think will happen is putting the after COVID period into probably three buckets. The first one is an immediate post-lockdown phase, and what's going to be allowed to open, in what form will restaurants open, how consumer. The problem with us today is that we have no idea about the new consumer trends because we've not been able to experience them. If we're not able to run our businesses, we don't know how our consumers are going to think, because they are going to think very, very differently. So that's the first phase. Then you have to think about what you might call the pre-vaccine phase, which could be whatever, 6, 9, 12 months, or even a little longer, and then think about a new normal phase. And so when Ritu talks about a bad time for F&B, let me put it this way. I think the F&B business is going to go into a bit of a coma. I say coma rather than sounding the death knell, because it is expected to come out of its coma. The question is when and in what form. When patients recover from a coma, have they got amnesia? Are they fully back to normal? We don't know. And so we have to keep those perspectives of these phases of the very near term, medium term, and what would possibly be a longer term. Yes, indeed, I've seen every crisis and its impact, at least on the hospitality industry. But I again want to pick up on some of the things Ritu talked about. You who are home chefs, aspiring home chefs, who want to think of yourself as entrepreneurs, part-time, full-time, whatever. So in terms of thinking through creating a niche, creating something unique, keep in mind that there is a social habit being formed in Indians today as we speak. I love to use the analogy of the social habit which was formed when demonetization happened. From using cash, so many of us became comfortable using digital currency. We never heard of Paytm and PhonePe and ThisPay and USPay till the demonetization. When you think about what's happened to many of us in this lockdown, for us as educationists, I can tell you it's great, because people have, by force of habit, started to consume online learning more. That bodes very well for continuing education in the future. Similarly, in terms of what you yourself are going through as habits you're developing, is there a fear about going out to eat? Is there going to be a desire to have to do new, unique things within your homes. I would urge you all to be thinking along those lines as we navigate this crisis. Let me put it this way. Today, think that you are still running with time because you're in a lockdown. The currency of value today is time, not money. If somebody gave you a lakh of rupees and you were stuck at home, there's not much you can do with it. But with the time you have in now articulating your plan, your strategy, your uniqueness, your niche, that's what you should be preparing and planning for today so that you can almost hit the ground running when we are approaching a significant easing of lockdowns and more people desirous of consuming food and beverage, whether it's going out or whether it's ordering in at home. I'll leave you with this thought in my opening remarks that for you, think of it this way: what was yesterday's possibility has become today's reality, and for you should be seen as tomorrow's opportunity. So how a possibility becomes a reality and how you need to think of as an opportunity is how I would urge all of you to start thinking about taking your businesses to the next level in this new normal we're going to be in.
Thank you, Dilip. Great insights. Thank you so much. Speaking about, I like the analogy every time you talk about the possibility to reality and opportunity. And my next question, Rajiv, is to you. When you speak about opportunities, so what sort of opportunities do you see coming up for home chefs and home cooks in this the new normal?
Thanks, Ritu. I'm reminded of my friend Tetsuya. He's based in Sydney, and when SARS happened close to 18 years back, we had a similar situation where everybody felt the model was going to change. And he started, he's one of the world's best chef, in my opinion, Japanese-inspired Western cuisine. And what he did, he started learning how to make pottery. He started making plates, and he said, when the time comes, he will present my food in my plates, which are baked by myself. So what he did was he sharpened his axe into something else altogether apart from food, and came up with a unique concept that each plate which he was serving food in was baked in the kiln of a friend of his. And so if it was a fish, then he had a separate plate for fish course, he had a separate plate for appetizer, and he started thinking that food is not going to go anywhere, but how I serve food, how people will look at food will change. And I'm reminded of that again in this scenario where food, like everybody's going to be consuming food in coming years, and it's not that food is going to go out of fashion, but how we consume food might change. And this is a good opportunity, I think, for all of us to go back to basics, look at what's important when you're cooking in terms of hygiene, in terms of perhaps looking at some Ayurvedic recipes, perhaps looking at some of the things which increase our ability to sustain and come out of this situation much faster, and not give up. I think it's just a question of being patient, but being ready to make the kill, so to say.
Thank you, Rajiv. I'm going to shift the focus now basically to more entrepreneurship. Ritu, there's a lot of questions which kind of comes and people look up to you. You're a role model for a whole generation you have spawned. And my question to you is, what are the very basics of setting up a restaurant or a food business? Essentially, talk us about your experience. When you were young, when you had little experience.
So I'll tell you what, I think I spoke about it in our last webinar as well with the students. One thing that I have learned, and which I repeat myself again and again in the restaurant businesses, there is nothing which has a resale value. Okay, whatever you invest in, God forbid that you don't do well, that is value of scrap. So when you start any venture, whether it's a home delivery, whether it's a do-it-yourself kit, whether it's a small eatery, make sure that your investments are something that you're willing to lose, that your livelihood, your basic day-to-day living will not be affected because this money has been lost. If you go with that in your head, you're definitely not going to be a loser. Then it's always a success story. So if I put it in various points, number one is the investment. Okay, investment has to be minimal. Working capital has to be well funded, but your capex has to be as minimum as possible. So that's number one. Number two, if you're planning to look at an outdoor location and not look at delivery or takeaway, and if you're looking at an eatery, make sure you don't compromise on the location, because location plays the most important role. You may have the most amazing food and you're in some god-forsaken place. Unfortunately, India is still not mature enough a country where people will go and find you in little gullies of somewhere because they've heard about you. Okay, the comfort of reaching that space and the comfort of knowing the area is very, very important to them. Just to give you an example, there used to be an amazing restaurant called Big Bong Theory in Shapurjat, run by a young girl called Anumitra, who later came and worked with me and now is running an amazing restaurant in Goa. When I went to her restaurant, I was gobsmacked by the quality and the level of food that she was doing. And she never had more than 2 people on an average every night. This was, and the restaurant unfortunately had to shut down. And why? Because it was in such a strange location in some hidden gullies of Shapurjat that no one could reach for it. So location plays a very, very important role. And third role is, if you don't know your product, don't get into it. So if you're just want to open it for glamour reason, or you want to you think it's a great business to be in, it's a very social business to be in, don't do it. If you know your product, get into it. And no offense meant to all the chefs around, including myself, product is the most important thing. So your dependency will always be on a third person. So in case you're not a chef and you're getting in a chef, make sure that your chef has some equity or some skin in the game. Otherwise, you will always be dependent on an employee or a person, and which could make or break your product at his or her whim and fancy. So product knowledge, investment, and location. These, I think, are the most important. And of course, it goes without saying, your product has, that's taken. That's obviously a taken. But you follow these, and the chances that you'll go wrong is quite slim. But saying that, we all know restaurant business worldwide has a 95% failure rate. 5% of restaurants survive worldwide and 95% shut down. So, but I'm sure if you have talent, you will be in that 5% and not the 95%.
Thanks, Ritu. Ritu, just one more question, and
Yeah.
my last question comes about: can I be a part-time entrepreneur and still be successful?
You see, I have my own theory on it. I truly believe either you do it full-hearted or don't do it at all, because you will not be able to do justice to either of them. Okay, so as I said, this is my personal opinion, because food business is not an easy business, and it's just not about, okay, I will cook and I will deliver. You want to make this a success model, you need to be, yes, a great chef, but you need to make sure your food costings are done in the right way, your packaging is done in the right way, your hygiene standards are met, your purchasing is not done by going to the kirane wala next door to you or the sabzi wala next door to you. Otherwise, you'll never make it. So there's a whole system to it. And if you think you can do that system with a part-time, I don't believe in it. I don't think that can happen. Again, I mean, back to when I started my first restaurant, I kept my job with my father for a few weeks. So after 4 weeks, I realized I couldn't do both of it. You cannot do it because, and if you try to do it, you'll soon find that you'll have to make a choice one way or the other.
Correct. Thank you, Ritu. Thank you for that. Rajiv, this question is to you, since we are talking about food. Can you tell us, our home chefs, our viewers, the different formats home cooks can consider for business? I'll give you an example. Take food trucks, for instance. It's just, for whatever reason, it hasn't gained that kind of a momentum in India. But if you look down in the West, there are some iconic chefs and iconic food trucks out there.
Sure. And I was telling when there's food being served from these food trucks, and it's not easy, but what is good is that it all depends on the menu you choose, it all depends on the concept, and it also depends on the venue. So 3 things again, which I think Ritu mentioned something about location. But in the food truck, the good part is that you can keep changing the location depending on where you believe you will get the footsteps. We have food trucks in California, for example, which have Facebook following of close to 1 million people, and they just need to tell that they are standing on this particular square, and you will have people going up there to taste the food. But the trick, obviously, is to understand your niche, to understand what you are good in, and be not necessarily look at what people want. I think in food truck, what's important is what you are good at, and to go with full passion. And of course, you have to study the market. And when people say that I'm opening, and a lot of people come to me and say we want to open a restaurant or a business, and you ask them the motivation, and they say, no, my friends tell me I cook very well, and my friends go out 8 to 10 times in a month to eat out. And if I start cooking, they will come to my restaurant and they will eat the food there. And I said, if you're going to open this restaurant or food business thinking your friends would come to you and pay for it, because if you're my friend, I'm not going to pay for the food to you. My expectation is I will get it free. So what happens then is that people don't study the market, don't understand that there's a not dearth of restaurants, but what is important is that we need to have a business plan in mind wherein we keep our specialization, our specialty, bearing in mind what the competition is serving. But in a food truck, the advantage is that you can move the business to where the footsteps are.
Thanks, Rajiv. Dilip,
sorry, if I may just add one thing here, Kunal.
please.
There's also one big problem with food trucks in India, because the laws are very strange here. So one of the reasons why food trucks have also not taken off in India and will not is because every municipality has a different law. Okay,
Correct.
so if you're parked, let's say in NDMC, you go to MCDD area, you're not allowed.
Correct.
In Gurgaon. So there's that other problem which is in India, which doesn't exist in California or UK or
Correct.
Australia, which is the government rules and regulations of whether you can operate a food truck or not. Sorry.
Correct. Ritu, just a point to that, but on the flip side, and if you just look at the Gurgaon Municipal Corporation, I was talking to Rajiv about a week or so ago. The food truck, and it's in one of the sectors, I can tell you for a fact, you really can't distinguish A to B to a C to a D. They're all the same. I think, according to me, they just don't do justice to this business,
Yeah.
And a lot of home chefs can do such a better job, especially in Gurgaon.
And Gurgaon has to do it. Delhi does
And
not.
has the infrastructure as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dilip, I'll turn my focus to you. I call you Mr. Hospitality, and that's for a reason. You've got one of the largest industry connects in the country, and of course across the globe in hospitality. How can our lovely home chefs utilize their own network to make their business a reality? How can they leverage their network?
Right. So I think while Ritu spoke about the challenges of the restauranting business, just now you've talked about food trucks. Perhaps a large amount of the audience are thinking as home chefs. So if I just stay with the home chefs concept and what you can do today, I think from a connect perspective, clearly you are all most likely to be on every single social handle, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or your own communities like Gurgaon Moms. It's really a question of leveraging that to build your connect, because today you can't be going out and marketing yourself physically to say, here I am and this is what I do and please buy my food. You have to do your digital marketing in a way, and if you don't know how to do it, get somebody to help you do that, because that's a core about bringing in the business. And because it's going to be new to many people, well, it's not that people don't order, but I think the whole product is going to undergo a shift, and I'll talk about that in a minute as well. Similarly, when you think of the Mesoplast requirements to now provide home cooked food, and when I say now, I'm talking about this new time where health, safety, hygiene, sanitation is going to be of critical importance. The reality is that luxury hotels have jumped into this business. They're seeing that now. I mean, I get messages and direct mails from many of these people offering fabulous food, which you can't go to their hotel to eat, so they'll bring it to you. So taking their hotels to your homes is how many hoteliers are trying to put it. What I think that suggests what you could do is when you think about the experience of people eating your food, and now you're thinking they're going to eat it in their homes. Um, how the hotels or the great restaurants create the ambience through accessorizing equipment, plates, making a bit of a song and dance, putting some frills, trims into the whole experience. I think when Ritu spoke about the niche, it was going through my mind that how do you create those niches? If you're doing gourmet food, if you're doing gourmet desserts, or whatever you're doing, you will need to make your product far more innovative than just great quality food. That has to be the basic. But I think today there's an opportunity to think about this, that if you're ordering from me, if I'm catering for 10, 20, 30 people, besides my food, which today you might just say, hey, look, you can have it picked up or I can deliver it, and you end there, you can perhaps expand the experience because that's what people are going to be consuming in the near term before they can go out fully. So I think when you're thinking about how you're going to do, I'm assuming home chefs, whoever are here, you are doing cooking and you are delivering food and you are catering. I'm assuming you're doing that. You just have to now think of doing it in a whole different way, blending it to make it more experiential for your customer to dine with that food in their own homes. And what will likely happen is if this continues over the next year, year and a half till things are back to normal, this might well become a new trend and habit in itself. And then you can watch your businesses start growing organically themselves because you would have created those products which people would have got used to given the pre-vaccine times that we'll be living in for a while. That would be my take on how to do this. From a connect perspective, you have to activate very, very strong digital channels. In fact, in anything you do with your business, you should make sure, because I find most great chefs who I think are like artists would typically say, and Ritu, I've heard you comment also saying, you know what, I can either do great food or I can run a business. To do both together is not easy. So if you're the great cook and you want to be a part-time entrepreneur, as the original question was asked, then support yourself with these resources. Maybe it could be your husband doing your finances or your kids doing it, or somebody being hired part-time to do it, somebody else to manage your digital marketing so that you can focus on the creativity of your food and now what you're going to accessorize it with. But to think that I will only plan the menu, the costing, the pricing, the selling, the marketing, the financing, it is simply not going to happen. Certainly not as a part-time entrepreneur, and likely not even as a full-time entrepreneur. So those are the kind of models you should be looking at going forward if you want to build up your home chef capabilities into a more robust business, I think.
Lovely. I think I'm going to take that thought. And Dilip, Sheetal Agarwal, she runs Zorba. She's a home chef. She's a cake artist. Sheetal, you've been hearing about not being a part-time entrepreneur. It's all about the experience, and it's all about the niche and the specialization that you create. Go ahead, your initial thoughts and any question to our panelists.
Yeah, hi. I'm Sheetal from Zorba, the cake studio,
Hello.
and I'm into the business from past 4 years. And I'm a cake artist. Along with that, I have a great passion for cooking as well. So my first question is like a lot of time I get confused because whoever have my food, they say ki you should add your food also into the menu. And like from home, I'm like the single man army kind of person. There's no help. I'm the only chef, so it becomes difficult to maintain, I mean, have various transactions, different recipes, doing all alone together. So how can I go about it? What do you suggest? Should I have vast menu or should I focus into the limited menu?
Shall I take that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so Sheetal, it's very simple. एक कहते हैं ना इंसान के दो हाथ हैं सिर्फ, ठीक है?
हाँ जी,
So
हाँ
you
जी.
have an option. If you're getting a lot of demand for your home cooked meal as well, then you might as well think into investing in bringing one more person to help you with it, so you can manage both. Otherwise, what you're going to do is, if you're going to take on more than you can chew, you may just risk also losing the reputation that you may have created in the last 4 years. So if you
Yeah.
know you have a talent with the food and people are requesting for it, Best
Yeah.
is see what is you need to analyze kitna demand hai, and if that demand can fulfill a cost of bringing one more person to help you. It is plain and simple. It's at the end, it's all about mathematics. Okay.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
expand the business, you get more menu, you will need people, definitely a lot more people or one more person at least to help you with it. And is the business big enough to support and pay for the extra costs that will come in?
Yeah, thank you very much. As Rajiv Jan was also trying to say, like you cannot do everything, like editing and management, and then price. I mean, deciding the menu, and then I mean various factor pricing, calculation,
Exactly.
and then I'm the only one who is getting the supplies from the market, and I'm the one who is chef. So I'm trying to do multiple tasks, so it becomes difficult. And then if I want to scale up my business, I really don't know what should I do as a next step, because I'm operating from home, and my husband has a desire that I should have my own restaurant or something. But how can I take the first next step that I'm clueless about it?
One step at a time. One step at a time.
So what should be the next step? Like
So as I
I should
said,
hire.
if you feel there's enough demand, hire one more person, start doing a smaller menu of your savory food, get a feedback from the market, see how many repeat orders are coming, and you can start scaling it up slowly. Or what you
Okay.
can do is, apart from your cakes, let's say do a special of the week. Maybe put 2 of your signature dish as a special of the week on pre-order. People need to order that in advance. So till you
Okay.
don't find another person. That way you will also be able to study the market, see what is the demand, and not put too much pressure on yourself either.
Okay, thank you. And like, is there any place from where I can buy a female? I mean, hire a female staff?
Are, this
Because
is a big multi-million dollar question right now.
yeah,
We don't
because
know
I
what's
don't prefer male staff at home because I have a daughter, and then at times I also have to go out. So
this
that's
is
the main
very
concern.
sexist, huh? Kunal,
Yeah, I
Dilip, you
know,
heard
but
that?
Sheetal, I can only say tap into your network. All right. See, inspire people, inspire other chefs, inspire other cooks. You never know. People would love to work with you as well, and that's typically how
Okay.
entrepreneurs go about their journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
to your question, Sheetal, and my question to you, Rajiv, is uh,
Yeah.
everyone talks about this business plan. So how do you ensure success? Where do they even start with the business plan? She's got so many questions. What should she keep in mind?
I think for Sheetal, if I was in her place, what I would be doing is engaging some of our students to do a consumer behavior survey for with her existing database. So I'm going to make a small survey, send it to the existing database, ask them what they like best about Sheetal's cooking, and which is not as good or not available elsewhere, and see what the trend is, see the theme, and then expand on that trend and that theme, and and then go that way. What is very important for when I say a business plan or when I say market research is that a lot of times we have some ideas. We think this is what is selling best, or this is why the customers come to us. There's a lot of insight when you actually go to the market, do those surveys, and see. There's a lot of surprises, a lot of things which people come to you maybe. One for product, but also could be the service, or also could be something as simple as how you answer to their queries, or even the cakes you make, or the colors you use, or the natural ingredients you use. And look at that. Is it the natural ingredients? Then focus on those and grow your menu like that. I think that would be a good step for you, Sheetal.
Sheetal? Yeah?
Yeah.
Soak it in. One day at a time. Lovely. Ritu, my next question to you, and again, this is a lot of home chefs are asking this question. You have your restaurant empire, but you also have an excellent experience with event catering for very high profile clients. Now that catering is a huge shift from home cooking model.
Actually, not really.
Not really. Okay,
No,
fair enough.
because you see, I'll tell you what we do in our catering. Actually, is we hire a lot of home cooks. You see, there's only Italian is one part or one cooking. Today, the trend is changing completely. All of us have started looking inwards. Okay, we had this little phase in between where we were all about fancy food, foreign food, Angrezi khana. But today the trend is very different. Today people want regional food. And when I talk about regional food, I'm not talking about just Punjabi or Bengali or coastal food, etc. You know, people are asking for things like Kayast food, Saraswat Brahmin food. People are asking for Kurgi food. So we actually in our catering, actually, because I'm not trained, or let's put it this way, I make amazing Marwadi food. But ask me to make anything which is a Mallu meal, I can't do it. Or tell me to do a good Punjabi Rajma or a Kashmiri Rajma, I cannot do it. So what we do in our catering is actually hire home cooks to do. We provide them the infrastructure, we give them the help, we give them chefs. In fact, that was another point I wanted to make. I'm glad you brought this up. Is what the home cook should also look at is getting in touch with catering or events company, where they can do a small station of their food, maybe with just one dish or two dishes, which is their speciality, and make that as a part of their event food. And that itself is a very, very interesting and a new market. Someone like us are always looking for something like that. I don't want, like I said, I want Vasudeva home food. I want Puri's home food. You know, and what happens in home cooking, there's also, like I said, there's of course the regional food. But what happens in every home when a woman gets married and she comes in and she's a homemaker, she brings in some of the food that she was born with, she grew up with. And there's some of the food that she imbibes from the family she gets into. And what happens in due course is there's a particular style of food which is unique to that particular household, which is memory from your past and memory of your current home. And that cannot be replicated by no one. So a dal recipe, every household has a different dal recipe. Every Sindhi woman will fight that her Sindhi curry recipe is the best recipe. So in catering events, this particular style of cooking could be a very, very interesting avenue for all the home cooks.
You know, I don't know if Shipra Mathur is part of the panel. Neela, is she there? Shipra, and can you hear me?
Shipra's not joined us yet. She's just
okay. No problem, no problem. So I'll come back to Shipra later. She's one of the home cook turned entrepreneurs, and literally winning awards every week, Ritu. So I just wanted her to come in and probably share her experience. So evidently, when it and if you look at Sheetal and all the questions which she had, so much uncertainty in her mind. And this question I posed to Dilip. Dilip, at Indian School of Hospitality, we pride ourselves on exceptional education. And of course, empowerment of entrepreneurs and empowerment of women entrepreneurs. Do you think we could run a special initiative for Gurgaon moms to take few of these passionate home chefs under our wing and kind of really foster them into entrepreneurs?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I see no reason why not. What I should share, though, is, well, just before we were locked down, we were in very serious discussion to start what we call our food and beverage incubator and accelerator program, which was designed really for entrepreneurs, people who had a passion, but did not know then how to go about monetizing it and making it into a business. And so before I talk about what we can do at ISH, I think just hearing what Ritu said, so, you know, if there are home chefs here who believe that, you know, you could be doing, let's say, a part catering at a big catering event, then maybe Neela, Ritu, Kunal, this may be an opportunity to put those ladies up to Ritu and do some kind of a little contest for you to see that are they really
Absolutely.
that could be something which could be awesome for all of you here, right? So that could be one outcome of this.
Super interesting.
Yeah, so that's one thing. In terms of what we can do,
chefs will hugely benefit from something like that. So thank you for that.
No, it's a pleasure. It'll be beneficial for me. I'm a very selfish person. So whatever I say or do, there's always an ulterior motive to it.
And Ritu, so is Rajiv also out there. You know, he's just waiting for his academic hat to put on and like literally get it going with the entrepreneurs. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
so
Dilip.
that's what I was going to say, that from pursuing your entrepreneurial dream and to then bring it down to reality and say, can it be done, rather than just keep thinking and imagining that you could do it. Rajiv referred to a business plan. You know, it's very classical marketing. What's your product? At what price? You know, at what place? So all of those things, Ritu talked earlier, capital costs, operating costs. I spoke about digital marketing, equipment, infrastructure, space, people. Now, these are complex things which have to come together to set up a successful enterprise. And chances are most of you don't have all those skills. Your skills are in being great home cooks, right? But you know that you feel intrinsically and you have the passion that I wish I could take this to at least another level. You know, maybe you're not doing it for massive commercial monetary gain, but you're doing it where you think that, look, I want to showcase what I do to others and I want the whole world to see. And so we could independently, and Rajiv would be the best resource at ISH to help those of you who'd like to understand this better, who'd like our assistance to see how can we help you make a plan. And as I said, when Ritu was answering you, Sheetal, about see if you can take a call on hiring another resource. That could be something which, in the interim, somebody like ISH could provide you infrastructure, because we have massive infrastructure, we have resources, we have people. If you truly believe that you want to take a punt and move your home chef amateur business into something more scalable, something more professional, something more monetizable, we would indeed be delighted to talk to you. And while there is a huge failure rate in businesses, I think those who are able to start smart, start small, take it step by step, don't get ahead of yourself, there's no reason why you cannot succeed. And always keep the perspective that those of you who take the leap of faith today, you're taking it in unusual times and getting prepared for even more unusual times to come. I think, as I said earlier, consumer behavior is going to be so difficult to predict post-COVID. People have fear psychosis. How long will it take to go away? Those are opportunities. When I said, you know, what are going to be tomorrow's opportunities? If you think that way, and if you think you'd like to expand more on this and actually do this seriously, please do come and talk to us. We'd be delighted to assist you as well.
That's lovely, Dilip. Thank you so much. I have
We'll
online
take some
with us.
questions now. Over
Yes.
to you.
Yes, please. Before Chef Ritu runs away,
Yes, go ahead.
So we have online with us Abhilasha Jain.
Oh,
She
yes, I know
celebrated-
Abhilasha.
Yes, and she runs a venture called Marwari Khana, and she makes the most yummy food. So she offers authentic Rajasthani cuisine. And Abhilasha has a question. Abhilasha, can you hear us?
She's on
Mute, Abhilasha.
Yeah. Hi, thank you for such an interesting and insightful discussion. I have a question. I have been doing Marwari Khana from last 5 years. Now, from last 2 months, because of the present scenario, I have not been taking any orders. But now my customers are asking me to start it as soon as possible. So a few months back, I had taken a base kitchen, commercial kitchen, and started working from there. But once this thing started, I had stopped that. So now I don't have my team with me. I'm all alone. So what should be my decision? Should I wait for some more time, or should I start and go ahead with it?
Okay, I'll try and answer that.
Yeah, I think.
In short part, that I think you should wait a bit, Abhilasha. I think it's only a matter of hopefully, weeks, no more than that, that when people will come back to work. Today, if you don't get your workers back, what's the point in opening up your kitchens? You'll only incur more cost in operating it. Instead, what you should be doing, as some of the other panelists suggested earlier, use this time to maybe do some more understanding of what your customer needs are, fine-tune your menu, Think of some nuances you can bring in, given the fact that more people will be ordering in than going out. Some things I spoke about. How can you embellish what you're already doing to make the experience even more authentic beyond just delivery? Can you add something? If you start thinking about some of these very simple to do things, they're not going to be that
I
people
have,
will invest again.
yeah.
But
Sir, I
I
have
would
been
not.
doing, yeah, sir,
Yeah.
I've been doing those live videos. I have been taking time for the photography classes and all those things. But now my customers are asking me. That was the reason I asked you. Yeah.
आप कहते हैं ना, if your customers are asking you and you build up the anticipation, फिर उसका फल और भी मीठा होगा. So
Okay.
I would
Okay,
recommend
sir.
you wait for at least till this next lockdown period's over. Don't just be
And
in a
some
hurry to start.
clarity.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Abhilasha. I have with us someone that you all know now, Shipra Mathur. Shipra has claimed she's a joyful person who enjoys life and takes challenges as it comes to her. She's an excellent chef and an excellent cook. So, Shipra.
Hi everyone, how are you all doing?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, so because of this pandemic, I had to shut down my kitchen. I was fully booked for next 3-4 months, but unfortunately, because of this, I had to shut down. But fortunately, my condominium people they requested me to start the kitchen so that I could help the senior citizens who were staying there or the children who were staying here as PGs. So I started with my small meals and like I have an everyday menu, and and I was doing. So I said, okay, let me try, because I had to do everything on my own. I had no help coming in the colonies. So I managed, but now. Uh, Outside orders have also started coming in, and some people I'm doing my delivery myself. People are understanding that, yeah, what are the major concerns right now. But they're happy that I'm cooking and delivering myself. But how do I take this more? Because okay, 1 or 2 orders, it's fine, but if it increases, then I will need help, and I need to get my staff back and all that. So how do you go about it? That's what is now. I'm same as Abhilasha, that clients are calling you and they want food, and then some I'm taking orders, outside orders, but some, like, of course, I'm rejecting them. So how do you go about this now?
Ritu.
Yeah. You see, it's the same like what Dilip said. Today you start something. It's a time of uncertainty right now. Numbers are not getting better. Technically, the lockdown's supposed to get over. What if it doesn't get over? What if there's another extension? What if there's another problem and again they close Gurgaon? So this is, if we all knew the answer, what's going to happen next, I think we all would be the richest human beings in the world. So just wait it out, Abhilash, Mrs. Mathur, because the problem is there is still the stage of uncertainty. To start a business which is closed takes time, effort, and money. And then 2 weeks later, you find yourself in the same situation again. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So, Shipra, people are still going to wait for your food. They will still order, but just wait for some clarity to come in. Just to give you an example, in Italy, the restaurants were allowed to open from last week. From last Monday, they've been allowed to open. Restaurants opened on Monday. By Wednesday evening, 90% of them shut down again because no one was eating out. People were so scared. Okay, so right now you may get a few calls asking you for orders, but is that enough for you to start your kitchen again? Is that enough to start hiring people again? That's a decision only you know and you can take. But I would be very cautious at this moment before restarting anything.
And as I said earlier, Shipra, to Abhilasha as well, use this time to, in whatever you're doing, are you practicing the hygiene, safety, sanitization required? More of your customers will start asking for it. So start focusing on those things as you're gearing up, hopefully for a more sustainable opening than opening then having to shut down. Abhi 4-5 customer ke order
Yeah.
aa jayenge, phir band ho jayega. But you can use this time to really get your act together, that when all the new norms come out, ki how safe, how hygienic, how secure is your food, I'm prepared for it.
Okay.
Sorry, Kunal.
Yes, you have to leave.
Sorry, Kunal, Rajiv. There
Yes.
is an FSSI guideline that has come on food safety and hygiene. Maybe you can pass that on to Gurgaon mums,
Yes.
and they can pass it all to their home cooks, so they will at least know what are the guidelines they need to follow when they start again. Because anyway, once we start, we are starting in a new world. All you home cooks, I'm sure you cook very well in your homes, but there will be a lot of changes in how you cook, how you pack, how you deliver in this new world. So this is also a great time to study that, to practice that, and to master that. And especially not only for you, but your domestic help, whoever's helping you at home to do this cooking more than you, they need to learn that as well. Because as I said, it's going to be a very different world, and no sort of unhygiene will be tolerated by no one. So the FSSI guideline, which has just come in for COVID right now, maybe if it can be shared by Gurgaon, with all the ladies at Gurgaon home cooks, it'll be something good reading material for them.
Yeah.
We'll definitely do that. I have just two more quick questions.
Yes.
I have Ivanka Kapoor online, and she runs a brand called Dubuk Organic Blends. So Ivanka, can you hear us?
Hi, yeah, I can. Thanks for having me here.
Please ask your question, Ivanka.
So actually, I have a question related to the licensing bit. So what I do is we make dry masalas for milk and tea as of now, and we plan to add some more in the range soon. I have two questions. One is related to the licensing bit. Do you think it's wise to go for an organic license right now, considering that we have only 2 products? And B, I don't know what all norms would be required to like sort of fulfill and get the license, if you can help with that. And second is, actually, this is the main question. So, I mean, if somebody can answer, help me out with sorting this bit. It's a confusion, actually.
Yeah, about the licensing bit, I don't know. I can only kind of say, if you do have a license, and your customers will always look at you with that kind of a credibility as well.
Yep.
Because it kind of gives a stamp of recognition and stamp of authority on the license. But I think I will take this question under notification, Ivanka, and maybe by end of day today or tomorrow, I'll take your number from Upasana, and I'll come back to you with a much more specific guidance.
And sorry, just one more thing. Like considering that there'll be a festive season starting very soon, and we had already worked on some gift boxes and stuff, but we were mainly focusing on the off-ground events and all that happen during the festive season. Now, I don't know whether that'll have as much footfall as it used to earlier. So, are there any suggestions from you guys? Because I'm new to this, it's been only a year. If you guys can help out with, how can we reach out and make use of the festive season for gifting and stuff, maybe online or something, because all I know is about the RWA events and stuff that happen.
Ivanka, I will take this question also under kind of guidance, but genuinely, as Ritu also kind of said, and just look at what really happened in Italy, where all the restaurants open and in about 4 days, all the restaurants shut again. So what we need to actually see right now is June 1st, when the lockdown 5.0 and whatever version of 5.0 it is, how are we easing the economy, okay, the movement of people. I think we will get to know more, and picture will be a little bit more clearer in the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Can I comment on that, Kunal?
Please, Dilip, please go ahead.
my sense is that when you think of gifting,
Yeah.
Gifting is, especially if it's for social occasions, special occasions, it could be considered to be an almost contactless activity. You have gifts, whether they're for weddings or whether they're for corporates, and then people distribute them and send them out and couriers bring them, right? That's what happens in festive times. So I'm not sure that business should be impacted. If anything, because people aren't able to have celebrations physically, the opportunity for using gifting to express your love and affection and friendships and all the things you do in the festive season, like I said, who knows how consumer behaviors are going to change post-COVID. But I would take a punt on the fact that the gifting business, especially when you make gifts and then people distribute them or send them out to others, that shouldn't be a business which should really get affected. In fact, my just intuitive sense is it should be a thriving business in this upcoming festive times. I think so.
I must also add that
Let's really hope so.
Rajiv, go ahead.
I just want to add that during Mother's Day celebration in Australia 2 weeks back, we had a lot of gifts being taken from Amazon, and a lot of these things were through Amazon vouchers. So gifting will continue. It all depends on how the process of gifting is going to change. Obviously, it may not be that you are able to give the gift of mithai ka dabba. Traditionally, you'll go to a person's house and give it, but it'll change to maybe a Amazon voucher or something like that, I guess.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm just going to say a few words. Thank you for this insightful session. Thank you, Dilip. Thank you, Chef Ritu. Unfortunately, she had to leave. Kunal and Rajiv for being here. Sheetal, we look forward to seeing Zorba totally scaled up now with all the information you have. And we will definitely share the guidelines, mom entrepreneurs. And thank you again for being here, all of you. It's been a real pleasure, and we look forward to doing it sometime again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In the new way of saying bye. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Social distancing way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.